Good afternoon, St. Joseph Marello class. We will just be waiting for others to join. You may type your questions in the chat box below. But I will first discuss some of the reminders for chapters 1 and 2. So we have 7 viewers. So again, good afternoon. For today, we will finalize your thesis titles. So we will focus on the online education barriers among grade 7 students of Holy Family Academy. We also have the study of privacy behavior of social media users, the level of compliance to GCQ of selected households in San Antonio, Quezon, the effects of online classes to academic performance of grade 11 Hume students of Holy Family Academy, and the last one is the spiritual impact of coronavirus disease on grade 12 students of Holy Family Academy. So for the title, we have discussed a few weeks ago that regarding the title, you have to make it not too general and also not too specific. So the allowed number of words is 15 to 18, or it can be less than 15 as long as the words can suffice the content of your thesis. For example, for the group of Delen, they will focus on online education barriers among grade 7 students of Holy Family Academy. If we will count the words, so online education barriers amongst grade 7 students of Holy Family Academy, we have 11 words. This is okay already because we'll focus on the barriers. For the study of privacy behavior of social media users, we have to modify the word study. We have to change the word study. Is the leader, is John Allen Rick Matibag here? Can you type in the comment box if you are here? John Allen, or we will go back to the topic of John Allen. So for the level of compliance of GCQ of selected households in San Antonio, Quezon, we will just complete the acronym GCQ. So we will use the level of compliance to general community quarantine of selected households in San Antonio, Quezon, or the level of compliance to community quarantine of selected households in San Antonio, Quezon. The total words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This is okay also. This is okay also. So the title for the group of Delen is okay. The title for the group of Lilo, Maria, Juliana is okay also. And then for effects of online classes to academic performance of grade 11 Hume students of Holy Family Academy, we will remove the word the. So it's only effects of online classes to the academic performance of grade 11 Hume students of Holy Family Academy. The spiritual impact of COVID-19, spiritual impact of coronavirus disease 19 to grade, we will remove on. So to grade 12 students of Holy Family Academy. Again, for your questions, queries, you may type your questions in the comment box below. So going back to the study of privacy behavior. The rest of the topics are okay, but we have to finalize the topic of the group of John Allen Matibag. Are there members here of Jan Allen? Can you type something in the comment box if you are a member of Jan Allen's group? But I am not sure who are the members. Because I want to identify if you are after the privacy behavior or what are we going to do with the privacy behavior. Do we have only to identify the privacy behavior of social media user? Any member from the group of Jan Allen? So while waiting for any member from the group of Jan Allen, again, we will be allowing at least 15 to 18 words. But if there is a need for you to add more words, that would be okay. But in encoding or typing the title, it should be in inverted pyramid style. Meaning, for example, the longest title may be up to 3 lines. So when you say inverted pyramid style, inverted triangle, yan, inverted pyramid style. The shortest is 1 line, but it's better if it is 2 lines. Then the most is 3 lines. Part of chapter 1 is the introduction. In writing your introduction, you have to make it sure that you start from the wider scope. For example, if your topic is the common behavior of grade 12 students of Holy Family Academy. For example, the common behavior of the students of Holy Family Academy. You have to write something on behavior on a wider scope, meaning what are the common behavior of the students worldwide, for example, worldwide, and then in Asia, and then in the Philippines, and then we will go down to for example, Batangas. So, in order for you to connect each paragraph, you have to use transitional devices. What are those transitional devices? For example, additionally, moreover, to support with, in support with, so that there will be connection from one paragraph to another. You can get some of the contents from your review of related literature and studies, but no need for you to also include the author. You have to paraphrase or you get the idea of what he or she has written, and then form it in sentences that in a way you are the one who constructed the statements or you summarize the contents of it. But if it is a must for you to mention the author, please minimize the number of authors you are mentioning in chapter in the introduction, because the more citations that you have in the introduction, it will appear as if it is review of related literature and studies. But introduction is far different from review of related literature and studies. The last part of the introduction is your reason why your group become interested with the topic. For example, you will be mentioning something about behavior is one of the most important aspect of a person. Then you have to mention, for example, in Europe, in America, going down to in Asia, then in the Philippines. This plays a vital role in one's, so on and so forth. Then the last part, for example, is the group became interested with the topic because as students they want to, so on and so forth. Again, you have to observe proper grammar, proper punctuation marks as well. The introduction is in itself a part of the thesis wherein after reading the introduction, the readers will have a clear view on what is your thesis all about, what is the topic all about. So, in a short number of minutes in reading the introduction, the readers can, in one way or another, already identify that this is about this one, this is about this one, and it is a short but a clear picture of what is your topic or what is your thesis all about. The next one is the statement of the problem. This is one of the most important parts of chapter 1, because this part, the statement of the problem, this is where will your research paradigm will depend, and also the contents of this will be the mere contents of chapter 4, the presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data or data. So how to make the statement of the problem? The statement of the problem has two problems: the general problem and the specific problem. Usually the specific problems are the specific objectives. The general problem, more often than not, is just a repetition of the title. For example, if your title is content creating as a job among selected local YouTubers. So your general problem is, this study aims to identify the contents being created by the selected local YouTubers. Specifically, this is the specific questions or the specific problems. Specifically, this will answer the following questions. Usually, the first specific question is the profile of the respondents. For example, what is the profile of the respondents in terms of? Then you have to identify or to know or to determine which among the profile of the respondents that you have to include in your SOP number 1. Usually, it is about the sex or gender, but I advise that it's better for you to use sex. So what is the profile of the respondents in terms of, for example, 1.1, sex? If your options are 2 only, male or female, but if you prefer that gender must be used, you have to put or add other options. For example, what is the profile of the respondents in terms of gender? So you have to identify what are those genders. For example, male, female, transgender, bisexual, transsexual, if there is a need. But I advise you have to use sex because we only have 2 options, male or female, because that is the biological sex is biological, meaning you were born, he or she was born either as a male or as a female. And then after that, we can also include age. If your respondents are students, you can include the grade level. Yun. But if your respondents are adults, depending on your topic, you can include something about what is or her work, number of years in the service, or you may include the salary. Yun. If those things are important in relation with your topic, that is SOP number 1. Then SOP number 2, for example, if the topic is the common behavior of grade 12 students of Holy Family Academy, you have to think of statements or questions that will answer that will be of great help, or that would give that would be included in the questionnaire. Those statements or questions that, after being included in the questionnaire, can give answers or data in chapter 4. Usually, the specific questions are 3 or 4, but then usually it's difficult to make SOP number 2, 3. And usually SOP number 4, or the last specific question or statement of the problem, is based on the findings, what can be proposed. Usually in humanities and social sciences, they will be proposing action plan, they will be proposing management plan, they will be proposing strategies, improvement plan, development plan. But in SOP numbers 2 and 3, we have to make sure that those questions will give the data that we will be needed that we will need in chapter 4. In the topic behavior, the common behavior of the grade 12 students of Holy Family, what could be some of the questions? For example, what is the behavior of the respondents in terms of or during, or for example, whenever there is, for example, 2.1, or whenever there is a, for example, group activities, whenever there is this recitation, performance task. From there, we can identify what behavior is being manifested or being shown by the respondents. And then from there, we can identify what is that particular behavior. If your topic is on behavior, you have to know what are the different types of behavior, if there are or if there is. So depending on the topic that you have, the SOP is also dependent on the topic. The number of specific questions will be dependent also on the number or how many variables do you have in your topic. Again, going back to the variables, for example, online education barriers among grade 7 students of Holy Family Academy. So we have to have question about online education, the barriers, then the profile of the grade 7 students. So types of barriers. Barriers can also represent challenges, difficulties, or struggles. And then from there, you will be, based on the findings, what can be proposed to improve or to lessen or to prevent or to control those mentioned barriers. Okay. And then, do you have any question, class? Do you have any question? If you have questions, you can type the question in the chat box. The question is from Sister Baby, Sir, paano po magiging research-based yung intro kung wala pong gawa ng mga authors or any other article sources? Yan, magandang question. Pwede kang mag-include naman, Sister Baby, pero konti lang. Konti lang. Kasi you can mention naman based on the readings, but no need for you to mention the authors, because if you will be mentioning many authors, your introduction will appear as if it is review of related literature and studies. So you can mention few, very few, or at least 2 authors only, but you get the best contents from your RRLS. That if you will be using the contents from RRLS that you included in the introduction, no need for you to include naman yung nasa introduction mo na authors, no need for you to use it again in the review of related literature and studies. No. Because what scenario that we want to form in the introduction is that because of these scenarios, because of these issues, your group became interested because you want to be of help. Because your group, you want to be of help. And then from there, though it is something that is personal, then we want it to be research-based with few authors mentioned. Your interest, your eagerness to be of help is something that will be better understood by the audience. That is where you are coming from the interest, because you are interested, and not because many researchers have conducted similar studies. That's what we wanted to emphasize in the introduction. Yan, Sister Baby. That's what we want to emphasize in the introduction. You may include, but very few. For example, if you have 3 pages na double-spaced doon sa introduction, siguro 2 authors, 3 the most. Yun. Or you combine the name of the authors if they mention similar literature and studies that of relevance with your topic. Some more questions or clarifications? Okay. For the conceptual framework, what is conceptual framework? A few weeks ago, we discussed about, very briefly, we discussed about the theoretical framework and conceptual framework. It is easier on our part to use the conceptual framework because that will be based on how you conceptualize the topic, the SOP, and also since it is from your interest, you can easily make the research paradigm of the study. So the research paradigm of the study is a part of the conceptual framework. So before you have the illustration of the research paradigm, you have to introduce first what are those concepts that you combine that enable you to come up with your research paradigm. Again, for example, if your topic is about behavior, so you will be getting the concepts from the different behaviorists or psychologists na pinagsama-sama mo yung konsepto nila, yung ideas nila, na hindi theory ha, not theory, konsepto doon sa mga nabasa mo, and then eventually you came up with your research paradigm. So from the title to SOP, to conceptual framework, and to research paradigm, they are related with one another. That's why if you will put that on a table, so kita mo kung ano mga variables doon sa title, the same thing, it will be very obvious doon sa SOP, obvious din sa research paradigm of the study. Going back to the topic behavior, so you will be introducing your paradigm in the conceptual framework. For example, behavior plays an important role in one's life, specifically to students. Through behavior, we can identify what kind or what type of a person he or she is. With the concepts from, the researchers were able to combine the said concepts and then eventually came up with this paradigm. The paradigm below, is composed of, ganito na, the first box, refers to the respondents of the study. These are the grade 12 students of the Holy Family Academy. The second box refers to, yung connected by an arrow, this refers to what? The common struggles of the different actuations of the student in different situations. And then the third box is the type of behavior that they manifested or that they've shown during that certain situations or events. Yun. And then after all those boxes, you will be ending up with a certain proposed behavior management program. For example, if we can determine that this will lead to behavior problems, we will be now proposing behavior management program, a behavior management program. Yan ang ibig sabihin. In short, si conceptual framework with the research paradigm, siya ang pinaka-drawing ng iyong title at ng iyong SOP. That's why my instructions to you before was, if you are better in making an illustration, you make first your research paradigm. But if you are better in making questions, you start first with your statement of the problem. But if you are better in constructing a title, you start with your title. Yun. That's why you can either start making conceptual framework even if there is no final title yet, or you can make first the statement of the problem without the research paradigm. Sabihin kung saan kayo mahusay, kung saan mas malinaw nyong maipakita yung gusto nyong research na mag-gather na data. Yan. Yes, Jenny Elaine Orense. Sir, pwede ka po sadya na hindi gumamit ng IPO? Yes, because IPO is just one of the samples na ginagamit, illustrations na ginagamit sa research paradigm of the study under the conceptual framework. Many illustrations use input, process, output. Ang ibig sabihin ni IPO ay input, process, output. But then since the concepts are based on your interest and based on your other readings, that's why it is in one way or another is based on the collaboration that you made with your group members. For example, if your topic is about the behavior, so how can we use IPO? What is our input? For example, the first box will be the student's behavior, no? And for the process, the content of box number 2 are the students' reactions, yun, the students' reactions to different situations. And then box number 3, yun na, doon ka pupunta sa behavior management program. If your goal is to manage the negative behavior. Pwedeng gamitin kung mas madali sa inyo yung IPO or your input, process, output, pero pwedeng hindi. Yun. But if you will be using input, process, output, or IPO model, you should be after the name of it, input, anong process, at ano ang output. Pero pwedeng hindi. Yan, Jenny. So pwedeng IPO, pwedeng hindi. And then for scope, delimitation, and limitation of the study. Scope, delimitation, and limitation of the study. We already discussed that also in the study guide I sent to you. So the scope and delimitation will be containing what is the scope, the coverage, or the boundary of your research. For example, your topic is behavior, common behavior of grade 12 students of Holy Family Academy. That is the topic, the working topic. So the scope is you will be dealing only with behavior. Yun. The students also, your respondents will only be grade 12 students. Those students will be coming from Holy Family Academy. Yun. Doon lang kayo, yung coverage, yung boundary. You will not go out from Holy Family Academy. You will not include other students outside Holy Family Academy. And even in Holy Family Academy, you will not include grade 11 or grade 7 to 10 students or the elementary pupils. Your focus is on the grade 12 students. So meaning what the study covers, up to what is the content of your variables in the of the study, and that focus on the scope and the limitation. For the limitation, what are those things that makes you that makes the research limited? For example, you only have 150 students because of limitation in time, limitation in budget, limitation in the number of students. That is where limitation comes in. So meaning the first paragraph will be dealing with scope and delimitation, and the second paragraph will be about the limitation of your study. Meaning in the limitation, what your study cannot do, cannot answer, cannot process, because that is not included in your study. Yan, those are the things that are included in the scope, the limitation, and limitation of the study. Do you still have any questions? Do you have any questions? As far as I remember, the St. Joseph Marelo class has 36 students, but we only have now 10 students. Are all leaders here? Tingnan nga, check nga muna ko ng leader. Si Dylan, wala. Parang wala si Dylan. Hindi ko kasi makita. I only have Jenny Elaine Orense. 1, 2, 3, tatlo lang. Team. So, moving on, we have here the significance of the study. So, significance of the study is about who will be the beneficiaries of the results of your study. Usually the contents are, for example, significance of the study. The results of this study will be beneficial to the following. So, who are those? Who will be benefited and how they will be benefited? Who are the beneficiaries and what they can get from the results of your study? Yon. How can we arrange or how can we list the beneficiaries? For example, if you conducted your study in a certain school or specifically in Holy Family Academy, for example, the beneficiaries are the school administrator. We'll be starting from the higher position. So school administrator, school principal, then teachers maybe, then parents, then students, and then the last usually is the future researchers. Usually it is included, the future researchers. So for example, school administrator, how they will be benefited? or how can she or he be benefited? So the results of the study will give benefits to the following. So do not put any number, just have the school administrator, and then the reason on or the how they can be benefited. For example, school administrators, the, this will serve as guide. This will serve as guide for them to craft a behavior management plan, and then the school principal, this will be his or her reference, so on and so forth. And then the teachers, they can better guide the students in terms of yun, and then the students and the future researchers. Usually in the future researchers, this will serve as a reference in their studies, which is related with this one and with this one. Yun. That is very simple. The significance of the study, who will benefit or who are the beneficiaries, and how they will be benefited or what they can get from the results of your thesis or study. And then the last part of the first chapter is the definition of terms. We had studied that we have two types of definition in research: the conceptual definition and the operational definition. No need for us to use the conceptual definition, but I advise that before you can make the operational definition, you have to read many conceptual definitions. Again, conceptual definitions are those definitions from the dictionary, from the authors. Usually the format is, for example, you will be thinking of different terms that are of significance to your study. For example, in the topic behavior, common behavior of grade 12 students of Holy Family Academy. So, of course, we'll be including behavior. For example, the conceptual definition of behavior is, let's have an example. Behavior. Let's see. Behavior. From the dictionary, but we will assume na this is from an author. Just for an example, behavior. Usually the format is, for example, this is from an author. For example, I am an author, so you will be including behavior. So this term refers to the way in which someone conducts oneself or behaves. Yon. Again, example, behavior. This term refers to the way in which someone conducts oneself or behaves. Then open parenthesis, Cubero. Then what year did I give the definition? For example, did I give the definition rather? For example, 2010. Open parenthesis, Cubero, comma, 2010, close parenthesis. Yun. That is an example of a conceptual definition. But we will not be using the conceptual definition. For an easier way of accomplishing the task, we will be using the operational definition. Again, the operational definition is based on how the term is or was used in the study. Yan. Sister Baby din. Sir, wala pong minimum number of terms. Wala naman. But then para lang siya, hindi naman parang sobrang ikli. Siguro the minimum sa atin ay 5. Just the maximum is 10. Yan, 5 to 10. 5 to 10. Pero kung talagang there are lots of terms that if you will not define those terms operationally will create confusion, you have to include that in the definition of terms. Tapos ang arrangement ng mga terms, class ha, do not forget the arrangement of the terms is in alphabetical order. From A to Z. For example, if you have 10 terms, behavior, management, manifestation, crisis, behavior management, crisis management. Yan. You have to alphabetize the terms. And then, for example, in a complete definition of terms, going back to the behavior term, the term behavior, so behavior, this term refers to the way in which someone conducts oneself or behaves. Open parenthesis, Cubero, comma, 2010, close parenthesis. And then you have to follow it with, in this study, referring to your thesis, In this study, this term refers to the reactions of the grade 12 students to different situations. See the difference? The behavior when you use in your study is now defined as, in this study, this term refers to the reactions of the grade 12 students in different situations. And no need for you to mention the author because it is defined by you. It is defined by your group. Yun na. So again, there should be two definitions, conceptual and operational. But in our case, we'll be using the operational definition. Ang mahalaga lang, alam natin ang difference ng conceptual and operational definition. When we say conceptual, the common definition from the dictionaries, from the authors. But then operational, how was the term applied or used in your study? Again, it should be arranged in alphabetical order. Do you have any questions for the content of chapter 1? You may type your questions in the chat box. Thank you for attending the class, Jan Melvin Pita, Sister Baby, Jenny Elaine. Kayo lang. Pero ang nakalagay dito, 9 ang nanonood. This is just a trial. I think this will be automatically saved. Then you can go back. Some more questions. Can we proceed to chapter 2? Can we proceed to chapter 2? Again, chapter 1 is the problem and its background. Chapter 1 is the problem and its background. Yan, present si Julius Lindog. And then chapter 2 deals with a review of related literature and studies. Okay, for the review of related literature and studies, you have, before, it is divided into 2 or into 4. The first part is review of related literature. Then you have to identify if it is foreign or local. Again, when you say foreign, from other countries. When you say local, from the Philippines. Then the other part is related studies, local and foreign. But this time we'll be following the format as thematic or topical, meaning the contents of your review of related literature and studies will be depending on the topics that you included or that you listed. Ano to daw? Okay, present si Princess, si Louis J. Santos, wala. Okay. So for example, in the given common behavior of grade 12 students of Holy Family Academy, what are the possible topics, class? What are the possible topics? For example, behavior, and then behavior of teenagers. For example, behavior management. In your case, for example, ang narito naman ay sina sister, for example, sa spiritual impact of coronavirus, you have to include, kasi you have to list the topics or themes so that you can easily get the related topics, literature, and studies that you will include in chapter 2. For example, you will start from for example, the youth and the coronavirus. The youth and the coronavirus. And then, challenges being experienced by the youth. Tapos punta ka sa spiritual effects. Parang ganoon. Or spiritual challenges. Spiritual management. Parang ganoon. You think or you list at least 4 to 8 topics depende doon sa inyong topic. And then based on but be sure those topics are related, relevant and significant. So that if you will be looking for related literature and studies, swak na swak siya doon sa content ng chapter 2 mo. So you have to think of the related topics or themes in your title so that you can have a very meaty chapter 2. Because to some, chapter 2 is not that important, but chapter 2 is also very important because there we can see if there are that lots of studies conducted of the same topic, that even if there are lots of studies or literatures written, we can still see research gap. Again, when we say research gap, there are those questions that we're not able, uh, questions or things that were not addressed before. For example, there are lots of studies conducted, but still there exists a research gap, meaning may kulang pa rin. And we are expecting that your thesis will be the answer to this research gap. Na ang inyong research or yung thesis ang makakapagpuno or can address or tutugon doon sa research gap na meron doon sa field ng topic na yon. I think I sent to Sister Baby the APA, the American Psychological Association. That is the proper way of citation, yung citation sa authors. If we have one author, two authors, three or more, yun. The important thing there is the difference when you will be mentioning the author's surname at the start of the paragraph and after the paragraph or after the paragraph. Doon lang naman sila nagkakaiba. Yan. So maybe all of the members will be reading the contents of APA, American Psychological Association Guide on Citation. I think that was last 2015 edition, 2015 or 2016. And then after having the contents of chapter 2, there is a summary after, and that is called as synthesis. Synthesis is the summary of your review of related literature and studies. Now that is the summary. When summarizing the contents of chapter 2, no need for you to include the year, but you have to determine or to group the contents of your chapter 2. Who among the authors mentioned the same thing, and who among the authors mentioned other things, meaning who are complementary and who are contradictory. For example, Cubero, De La Cruz, and Valencia all mentioned, but no need for you to include the years. Now, just the surname of the authors. Cubero, Valencia, and De La Cruz all mentioned that behavior is the product of the upbringing of the children. On the other hand, De La Rosa, Castillo suggested that behavior should be monitored and managed from infant to the growing up years. As a whole, yun na, mga authors, banggitin mo na, yung pinagsasama-sama na class, but no need for you to include the years. Yun. That is the synthesis part of the review of related literature and studies. Do you have any question? Baka ang iba hindi makapasok. Or mas malaking data ang kailangan kapag YouTube ang ginagamit. Or pag manunood ng YouTube. Sa palagay nyo, class. Screenshot ko na lang yung para sa attendance. And then, class, considering that your title, that your statement of the problem, that your research paradigm are all okay, that those things are parallel with one another, sa second quarter, you will be making the questionnaire. The questionnaire is based on your SOP. For example, if your first question is, what is the profile of the respondents in terms of, so the first part of the questionnaire is about the profile of the respondents. And then if your SOP number 2 is about what are the common behavior of the students in terms of ganito. So ang statements mo sa questionnaire, yung mag-identify on what kind of behavior. Yan. Let's try to look for types of behavior. Sister Baby, parang pareho lang pong matakaw. Natawa naman ako sa matakaw. No? Pero bakit kukunti ang ng sa link? Sister Baby, meron na tayong group chat ng mga leaders kasi magbibigay na kayo ng grade sa inyong members. But we have to discuss what is the highest, what is the average, what is the middle grade, and what is the lowest grade. Still, the total is 100 points. I'll be asking someone to make a group chat for us, leaders, and you include me also, so that we can discuss the rating system. For example, types of behavior. Types of behavior. We will be having at least 5 statements or 5 sentences about this type of behavior so that we can identify from which among the behavior the student's answer is higher. Ibig sabihin, if he is higher in behavior 1 compared to behavior 2, 3, 4, that is his behavior. Yun ang ibig sabihin. Types of behavior. Yun class, the more you read, the more ideas that you will be having. The more ideas that you will have. But the lesser readings you have, the lesser ideas that you will have. Yun. There are 8 types of behavior. So meaning, you will be having statements that will describe behavior 1 to behavior 8. And then the response will be answering, for example, manifestation of certain behavior in numbers 4, 3, 2, 1. Yung always, oftentimes, sometimes never. Then we will compute for the mean. At doon makikita natin yung kanyang uri ng behavior. And then for question number 3, for example, what is the reaction of the respondents in terms of, yun na, kung paano siya nagre-react doon. And then we can compute. Yun. So the questionnaire is very important also. But ito class ang good news. Kung masipag kayo maghanap, if you're lucky enough to find a ready-made questionnaire, you can use that. Pwede kayong may bawasin, pwede kayong may dagdagan, pwede nyong dagdagan. Kung masipag kayo maghanap, baka meron kayong magamit. Pero i-mention natin na yun ay adapted. Pero it is better if you will be making your self-made questionnaire. When we say self-made questionnaire, yun ay sariling gawa nyo based doon sa SOP at sa mga binasa nyong marami. Yung parang pag naglagay tayo ng mga statements ay kumpleto siya na makatutugon doon sa isang tanong sa SOP. So maybe that will be the start of our discussion in the second grading period. Kasi we'll be accomplishing chapters 3, 4, 5 plus the virtual oral defense. Siguro virtual pa rin yung defense. Or kung walang defense naman, doon tayo sa research project sa second sem, may defense. Depende. But we have to make it sure na matapos natin si chapters 1 to 5 sa first semester. Para itutuloy na lang yung kung anong action plan or anong program ang ating gagawin for your research project in the second semester. Aside from using Microsoft Word class doon sa questionnaire natin, we can maximize the use of Google Forms. During your free time, you can have a research on how to use Google Forms. Kasi in Google Forms, you will be just encoding the question and then the options. Then the respondents will just be clicking on the answer for a certain question. Then automatically, you can have a spreadsheet on it and then it will be making a graph for a certain question. So kita mo agad yung results. Yan. So malaking tulong sa atin yun. No? Question? Yon, when is the submission of chapters 1 and 2? The submission of chapters 1 and 2 ay sa Monday. Sa Monday. At least tapos na ang inyong exam. In Microsoft Word, yan. Thank you for asking, Sister Baby. You have to submit the contents of chapters 1 and 2 on Monday. Where will you encode that? What application will you use? Microsoft Word, Microsoft Word. The font style is Arial. Again, the font style is Arial. And then the size is 12. The spacing is double spacing. For the margins, the left margin is 1.5, but the top, the right, and the and the bottom margin is 1 inch. Again, yung left margin ay 1.5 inches. The rest, yung naiwan ay 1 inch. Yun. Since siya ay double spacing, medyo hahaba-haba naman siya. And what else? Yun, doon nyo pa rin ipapasa sa group page natin. Magpo-post ako doon ng please post your chapters 1 and 2 here. Yun. And then mag-uusap-usap nga tayo, yung mga leaders, kung anong ibibigay nating points doon sa inyong group members. We have to be fair in giving the points for your group members. But I assume na all of the leaders are very responsible. Yun. Kaya hindi nakapasok yung iba. So we will go back to, nandito na ba si na ano? May members dito si John Allen Matibag. John Allen Matibag. John Allen Matibag. Paki-type naman sa chat box if may member si John Allen. Yes, Sister Baby. Parang yun ang format ng pagkakasunod-sunod. Ang may kulang lang ako doon, Sister Baby, is yung delimitation. So, scope, delimitation, and limitation of the study. Yan. Plus, for the midterm exam, lahat ng lessons doon sa weeks 4, 5, and 6, then it has 50 items, all multiple choice. Yan, all multiple choice. Madali naman yung exam. Julius, ikaw ba ay member ni John Allen? Julius, pakitype ng yes kung member ka. Or you may encode in the chat box kung ano na yung improvement sa inyong grupo. Kasi we have to finalize your topic, your title. Because it is written here, study of privacy behavior. Privacy behavior of yung kay Dylan. Julius, ang sa inyo okay na yung online education barriers. Okay na yung title nyo. Oo, wala si Mr. Dylan. The problem is the title of group number 2 from the group of John Allen Matibag. Pero class madaling yung pag-click sa link nasa YouTube na. Ibig sabihin ang iba hindi lang talaga nag-connect. Hindi lang talaga nag-click sa link. So privacy behavior of social media user. Or privacy behavior. Let's see. Ano sila name? Hindi daw, sir, di po kaya ng net namin pag sa YouTube. Yung si Tim. Si Cesar. Okay. So privacy, we will just finalize the title of group number 2. Privacy behavior on social media of grade, yun na lang siguro. For example, grade 11 students of Holy Family Academy. So, privacy behavior on social media of grade 11 students of Holy Family Academy. But I will also contact the leader so that we can finalize the title. Some more questions from those who are present here. Or mas mahirap makapasok pag YouTube? If I will be having a lot of time, magre-record siguro ako. Yun. Para baka iba yung live kaysa sa recorded na sa YouTube. Let's see. Just making a trial. Some more questions, clarifications. Okay, since you have no more questions, you just review lessons under weeks 4, 5, and 6. Again, for the midterm exam, the items are 50 items, all multiple choice. And then for the submission of chapters 1 and 2, the deadline is on Monday. Use Microsoft Word. The font style is Arial, size 12. The spacing is double. And the margins are sa left is 1.5, top, right, and bottom is 1 inch. Again, I'll be waiting for the group chat of the leaders, including me, so that we can give grades or points to your group members. Thank you very much. Thank you for attending. I will now end the stream. Thank you, class.